Brad, have you prepared everything for the move?
What? What do you mean by that?
What do you mean, what? You need to get ready for the move before your university entrance ceremony. You've rented that apartment near the university, right? It's a nice place, and we've already paid for it. You need to finish packing and get everything ready to go. I can't do it for you, Brad. It's your responsibility now. So if you haven't already, start making those cardboard boxes up and throwing all the things you need into them to take.
Ugh, seriously? What makes you think you can lecture me like that? Got no right to talk to me like that.
Brad, what is going on with you? You've been acting so distant lately. Well, I can still help out if you need it. I don't mind lending a hand with the move, you know. I'm happy to do it for you.
No, just leave me alone. I don't need your help.
What do you mean, leave you alone? I'm your mom. You're about to go to university. This is a big moment for you. Why wouldn't I help?
I told you already. Don't come near the new house. Stay out of my life.
Wait, what? Why would you say that? I'm just trying to help, Brad. I want to make this transition as easy as possible for you.
I said don't come. It's my house now. You're not allowed to be involved. Just stay away.
Wow, didn't expect you to say that. I know you're going through a lot, but to hear you talk like that is really hurtful. Are you sure you don't want me to help in any way?
You're acting like I'm some kind of burden. Seriously, being ridiculous.
I'm not saying that at all, Brad, but it seems like there's something deeper bothering you. I can't help if you don't open up to me. What is going on? Why do you keep pushing me away like this?
Can't you get it? I'm a student at the best medical school in the country. The hardest one to get into. Do you even understand how difficult that is? Did it on my own with no special treatment. I made it in. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to achieve something big, something you could never understand.
I understand. I know how hard it is to get into a school like that, and I am proud of you, Brad. You've worked so hard. I just want you to know that I'm here for you no matter what.
Yeah, you should be proud of me. Going to be an elite doctor, the kind of person who's going places. You have no idea what it's like to be someone who's successful. I've worked my whole life for this, and it's finally happening.
Well, that's wonderful, Brad. I'm really happy for you. You deserve it, but still, why are you acting like this towards me?
And look at you. You're nothing. You're just a high school dropout who hasn't achieved anything. You don't even have a real education. I don't even know why you're still in my life. You're nothing but a burden.
Wait, what? What are you saying, Brad? I've been there for you since you were a child. I may not have had the same opportunities as you, but I've always done my best to help you and give you everything I could. How could you say that?
It's the truth. You're a failure, and I can't even believe that I'm related to you. Frankly, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that you've been part of my life.
This isn't fair. You think I've been a failure? Just because I didn't go to university doesn't mean I'm worthless. I worked hard every day to support you. I've given everything I could to raise you, and now you're turning your back on me?
Maybe I wouldn't mind if it was just the way that it was, but no, you're not just a mother figure. You're a fake. You weren't even my real mother. Dad and I decided that once I got into university, we'd tell you. We figured you'd accept the truth, but this whole thing, this is way worse than I thought.
I know that I'm not your biological mother, Brad, but that doesn't mean I didn't love you like my own. From the moment I met you, I took care of you, I raised you. I've been there every step of the way. How can you say that to me now, after everything?
Yeah, I accepted it. I finally realized that you're not even my real mom. I'm Dad's kid, but I'm not your kid, and I'll never be your kid. That's the truth, and I'm telling you now.
No, Brad, I raised you. I took care of you when you couldn't even walk. I gave up so much for you. I never expected to hear you say this.
Well, maybe you were good for that when I was little, but now that I'm older, I don't need you anymore. I'm going to live my life with Dad, and we'll be just fine. We'll be just the two of us. You're just a high school dropout. You're not part of this family anymore. Don't even think about coming to my entrance ceremony. I don't want you there. You don't belong there.
What? No, Brad, please don't say that. I've been waiting for this moment. I've been looking forward to seeing you walk into that ceremony, to see you dressed up, to see you finally achieve something great. How can you take this away from me?
What are you, stupid? You really don't get it, do you? The entrance ceremony is going to be full of elite people. Doctors, lawyers, rich families. What do you think will happen if they find out that my mom is a high school dropout? How am I supposed to show my face? It's embarrassing. It'll ruin everything.
Brad, that's too much. I've supported you your whole life. I've been there for you through thick and thin, and now you're treating me like this?
What do you want me to say? You're just some nobody who raised me. I'm going to be surrounded by elites. You really think I want them to know about you? No, I don't need you at that ceremony. Don't even think about coming. If you show up, I'll make sure you regret it.
I don't deserve this. I've done everything I could. I raised you as my own, and this is how you repay me?
Stop acting like I owe you something. You're a nobody. You don't even belong in this world. You've never been on my level. Now that I don't need you anymore, you're out of my life. You're disposable. It's as simple as that. Stay away from me. Stay away from my life. Got it?
Rebecca, I'll be back from work soon. Is there anything you need? I can stop by the store on my way back.
Well, not really. There's nothing specific I need today.
How about Brad? Is he getting everything ready for the move? I'm sure he's got a lot to do.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe. I guess he's sort of ready. I'm not sure exactly, but I'm sure he's got it covered.
But, after everything that's happened, it really feels like we're finally becoming a family. I know it might sound strange, but it feels different now, in a good way.
Family? What do you mean family? What's going on?
Well, I was finally able to tell him everything I've been hiding from him for so long. I was really worried about how he'd react, but thankfully, he took it really well. He accepted everything without a problem, which was a huge relief for me.
Oh, I see. So you finally told him what you've been holding back for all this time? That's great.
Yes, exactly. And Brad, he really understood, which was a huge weight off my shoulders. We've been through a lot, but now it feels like we can move forward.
So, do you think now's the right time to tell him about the other thing? The one thing we've been avoiding?
What do you mean? Oh, you mean that thing. Well, I don't really think we need to talk about it right now. It doesn't seem that important. Brad doesn't need to know about it. It's not going to change anything.
But don't you think it would be good for him to know? We are family now, aren't we? Don't we need to be open and honest with each other, especially when it comes to important things? I think he deserves to know, don't you?
Look, it's not that I don't agree with you. It's just, sometimes some things are better left unsaid, don't you think? I just don't want it to add any more unnecessary stress, especially after everything we've already been through.
I understand where you're coming from, but I feel like we need to trust each other completely. We're supposed to be a team, right? We've always supported each other, and I think it's time we trust Brad with everything, even the things that might be hard to hear.
You're right, we are family. And you've been here for me through everything. Even though you've had your own struggles, you've worked so hard to make sure everything's okay for both of us. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
It hasn't been easy, but having you here has made all the difference. I feel so much better knowing we're in this together.
And you know what? Even with everything that's happened, I'm just happy we're finally starting to build something together. It feels like we're finally on the right path.
I'm really glad you feel that way, because I've been thinking about something too. I've been considering going with you to Brad's entrance ceremony. I know it's important to him, and I don't want to miss it. I want to be there to support him, but there's only one thing that's been on my mind lately.
What do you mean? Is something wrong? Did something come up?
No, it's not that. It's just Brad told me that he didn't want me to come to the ceremony.
Wait, what? Why? Is it because we're not related by blood?
Well, yeah, that's part of it. But I think it's also because of his feelings about my education. You know how he feels about that kind of thing.
I can't believe he would say that. That is really unfair. I'm going to have a serious talk with him. He doesn't understand how important this is.
No, don't. It's not like that. I don't want you to get involved. I just need you to understand what I'm feeling. It's been hard, but I don't want this to come between us. I just need some time to figure things out. I know this is important to Brad, but I don't think it's the right time for me to go. I just don't want to make things harder than they already are.
But you've always been there for me, and I'm not going to let anything come between us, especially not now.
I know, and I'm so grateful for that. It's just sometimes I feel like I'm not really a part of this family, you know? Like I don't fit in because of all the things that have happened.
I understand, but we're in this together now, no matter what. You're part of this family. We'll get through this, okay?
I hope so. I really do. Brad, regarding the entrance ceremony, do you still think I shouldn't go? I really want to see your big day.
I told you, no way. My entrance ceremony is a sacred event, okay? It's not a place for someone like you who barely finished middle school to step foot into.
When you were still little, Frank and I got married. You are my child. We've been together since you were young. Please, don't say I'm just a stranger to you.
Don't joke around. Are you trying to leech off me like this?
Leech? What do you mean by that?
You're planning on taking my earnings from being a doctor and living a comfortable life, right? You really think I'll let you do that?
Why do you hate me so much? Is it because we're not blood related? Because I didn't tell you sooner?
No, it's not just that. I hate you and your useless family.
Useless? Are you talking about me being a middle school dropout?
Of course. This world runs because of the elites. You lower class people are only living off of the success of the elites.
Don't talk like that. I've been doing my best in my own way, too.
No matter how hard a lower class person tries, they can never reach an elite. The one who raised me and took care of everything was my father.
But I worked, too. I earned money.
That's just pocket change. It doesn't matter whether it's there or not. And you should divorce Frank. Get out of my family.
Wait just a minute. I'll admit, I can understand that you hate me. I get that you don't want me at the entrance ceremony. But why do I have to divorce Frank? Why are you demanding that?
It's because of you. You've been living off his money for so long, and now you want more. And I've decided that I'm going to marry the daughter of a CEO or from an elite family. If they find out my mother is a middle school dropout, the engagement might be off. That's why I'm telling you to divorce him.
Fine, I have put up with so much for your sake. I thought I could do anything for you. But I can't take it anymore. I won't put up with this anymore.
So it's settled. You're not coming to the entrance ceremony, right?
Yes.
Good, that's fine with me.
I don't care what happens from here on out.
So, the entrance ceremony is starting now. You didn't just show up at the school on your own, right?
I haven't done anything like that. I'm at home right now. Do you want me to send you a photo for proof?
Really? I don't need that. I'll be coming home once in a while, so when I do, you better serve me properly. Keep my room clean too. I'll let the divorce slide, but you should at least do that much for me.
Well, I'll do what I can, I guess.
Fine, I'll send you a picture of the ceremony. I'll show you what an elite entrance ceremony looks like.
I don't need any of that.
Oh, is that so? Well, whatever. Take care. Hey, what the hell is going on here?
What? What's wrong now?
I couldn't attend the entrance ceremony. I went to the office and asked them what happened, and they told me that my admission was canceled.
Oh, I see. Well, that's unfortunate.
Don't pretend you don't know what's going on. They said it was because the entrance fee wasn't paid. I bet you're the one behind this. You've always been the one handling all the family finances. What are you going to do about this?
Well, yes, I didn't pay the fee, but why are you getting so upset over this?
Of course I'm upset. The money that was supposed to be used for my entrance fee came from Dad's hard work. And you didn't use it for that, did you? You probably took it and used it for your own purposes. Don't think I don't know.
I think you're misunderstanding the situation here.
What are you talking about? What's the misunderstanding?
The truth is, I'm the one who earned the money for your entrance fee.
What? What are you saying? That entrance fee was $20,000. There's no way you, a high school dropout, could have earned that much money.
Yes, I'm a high school dropout, but I've been working since I was very young and have had a lot of experiences. I taught myself Chinese, and now I can speak it fluently. I've used that skill, along with my work experience, to become the top sales performer at my company. I earn more money than a lot of university graduates.
Wait, really? I never knew any of this.
We had an agreement with Frank that we wouldn't discuss work-related matters at home. That's why I never mentioned anything about my job to you before.
But still, Dad earns money too. He went to a prestigious university. There's no reason for you to pay for my entrance fee. You should have asked him, not spent your own money.
Well, the thing is, Frank's company has been struggling for years. He's had his salary reduced year after year, and because of that, it was impossible for him to pay for your entrance fee.
You've got to be kidding me. That doesn't make sense. Dad graduated from a famous university. He's an elite. There's no way you're telling the truth. You're lying.
I'm not lying. I really wish I were, but this is the truth. Things have been difficult for a long time now.
Enough with the lies. I'm going to tell Dad everything. He's been waiting for today's entrance ceremony and you've ruined it. After this, you're going to be kicked out of the house. You better start packing your things because you're not going to have a place here anymore.
I don't think that's going to happen, though.
What do you mean? Don't you see how serious this is? You've ruined everything, and now I'm going to have to deal with it. Don't you dare come near me again.
I don't think you fully understand the situation here. I don't think Frank will get so upset. It's not like it's the end of the world. I think you're overreacting.
Overreacting? Are you kidding me right now? Do you realize the mess you've caused? How do you expect me to just accept this?
I'm not asking you to accept it. I'm just saying that we're doing the best we can under the circumstances. I never wanted to ruin anything for you, and I've been doing my best. But things didn't work out the way we planned. That's just the reality of it.
But this is a big deal. You've ruined my chances of going to college. Do you even understand what that means? This is something I've worked hard for, and you've taken that away from me. Dad, my enrollment got canceled.
I see.
Do you understand why? They said the tuition fee wasn't paid. Mom took the money that was supposed to be for my tuition and used it for herself. This is the worst. You can't just let this slide, can you? How can you forgive her for something like this?
But that money was your mother's.
Huh? Is that really true?
It's true. When you told me that you were going to become a doctor and go to medical school, I was already struggling with money. It was hard to admit, but I thought about it seriously. I almost told you to give up on medical school. I thought it was impossible, but at that time, your mother said she would take care of it herself. She said she would handle everything with her own earnings, and she would make sure all your living expenses after entering school were covered. She told me that she would fully support you. She offered to help with everything, and I reluctantly agreed to let her take the lead in supporting you.
But in the end, she didn't pay the tuition. I'm sure this was her plan all along. She made me study, got me into school, and then pulled this cruel trick not paying the tuition just to mess with me. She's been manipulating me the whole time.
Why would Rebecca do something like that?
She couldn't accept it. The thought that I, who was just a high school graduate, would become an elite doctor. She couldn't bear the idea that I'd succeed. She's just a high school dropout herself, and she couldn't stand the idea of me becoming more successful than her.
That's not it. You've misunderstood.
How can you say that?
Your mother never wanted to hinder you. She went through a hard time herself. You know that her father's business failed, and because of that, she couldn't go to high school. She never wanted that kind of hardship for you. That's why, when you said you wanted to go to university, she said she would support you fully. She said she would take care of the tuition and the cram school fees. She paid $700 a month for the tutoring, and she even covered $2,000 for the summer course. She made those sacrifices to ensure that you had the best chance of succeeding. How could she be trying to sabotage you when she was making all these efforts for you?
But it still happened.
That's because you pushed Rebecca away. You called her a high school dropout and treated her like she wasn't even part of this family. You disrespected her so much. That's why she didn't pay the tuition. It's not that she didn't want to, it's because you shut her out.
Dad knew about this?
Of course I knew. I'm not blind, you know. I know everything, and you also insulted her by calling her a parasite. Do you really think I could stand by and let you treat your own mother like that? I've had enough of your disrespect and arrogance. I told you not to show your face in front of your mother, but I've had it. I don't want to see you anymore. In fact, I don't want you coming back to this house again either.
But you don't understand. You're not listening to me. You don't know what it's like to be in my shoes. You don't know how hard I worked for this. Mom just took everything from me without any regard for what I wanted. I studied so hard. I passed the exams, and all I wanted was to succeed. Now I'm just thrown away because of this. She took everything away, and now there's nothing left for me.
You think I don't understand? You think I don't know what it's like to struggle? You think I don't know what it's like to sacrifice everything for your future? I worked hard too, you know. And Rebecca, your mother, didn't just take things from you. She gave you everything she had to make sure you had the best chance possible. She went through all of this to support you because she wanted you to succeed. But you were too proud to see that. You turned your back on her, and now you're blaming her for everything that's gone wrong.
That's not what's going on here. It's not the same. You don't understand what I went through. You think it's all just about money in school, but it's about more than that. I put in the effort. I was dedicated. Now everything is ruined because of her.
It's not ruined because of her. It's ruined because of you. You pushed her away. You disrespected her, and now you're blaming her for your own failure. You really think that's fair?
I don't care anymore. I don't need your advice. I don't need anyone's help. I'm done with all of you. You've all ruined my future, and there's nothing I can do about it anymore.
You've made your choice, and I've made mine. If you really want to throw everything away, then that's on you. But just know this, I'm done with you. You're not welcome here anymore.
Damn it, I've lost contact with Dad.
Frank was really angry, so it can't be helped.
I can't believe you were paying for things like the entrance fees and everything else.
I didn't actually pay the entrance fees. In the end, it wasn't me.
So that was your plan all along, huh?
It wasn't a plan. You said I was just a stranger to you. It's strange to pay the entrance fees for a stranger, don't you think?
So, what are you going to do now? Dad said he doesn't want you coming back to the family home.
Yeah, we discussed this, and we decided to cut ties with you. Of course I'm not going back to the family home, and don't contact me anymore. Even if you do, we'll just ignore you.
So, you're serious about this, huh?
Yes, I am. Isn't this what you wanted?
I didn't want to be cut off from Dad.
But Frank decided he couldn't accept you after you rejected me.
Yeah, looks like it. In the end, Dad chose you instead of me. So what? I don't have a family anymore. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, that's about all there is to it.
From now on, I'll make it on my own as an elite. Don't come crying to me later.
Oh, right. Your entrance to the university was canceled, wasn't it?
It's fine. I'll just take the entrance exam again next year. And this time, I'll pass. I've already passed once, so it's easy. A 1-year delay? People like me, elites, can easily make up for that.
Is that so? Quite the confident statement.
You all better not get involved with me from now on. I'll climb up on my own.
Of course. I promise we won't interfere with you.
Well, see ya.
But there's one thing I want to ask you.
What is it?
Just because you passed this time doesn't mean you'll pass the same university again, right? The same problems won't come up?
Of course. The difficulty is the same, so if I keep studying, I'll pass again next year.
I see, but that sounds tough, huh? Continuing to study for a whole year?
It's not tough at all. I've been doing it all along, you know. What have you been watching?
But it's different from before, isn't it? Now you'll have to pay for your living expenses. You'll have to earn that, do the housework properly, and study, right? I think that's going to be really tough, especially since you've always relied on me until now.
Living expenses? What do you mean by that?
Well, I already paid for the initial cost of the rent, so you don't have to worry about that. But from now on, you'll have to pay for your own rent and utilities.
I have to?
Yes, you'll need to work part-time, manage your living, and still study. Oh, and don't forget about the $20,000 entrance fee. Seems like it's going to be hard for someone with only a middle school education to earn that. Do you think someone like you with just a high school diploma can save that much money in 1 year?
Well, just for 1 year, I was thinking maybe you could help me out.
Are you asking for help when we're not even family anymore? How strange.
No, but we're family, right?
When it's convenient for you, you want to consider me family? Stop that. Family isn't something you can just treat so lightly.
Well, I'm going to become a doctor, and I'll repay my mom for everything.
Mom? You mean the person who abandoned you? I'm not your mother. I'm Frank's wife, not your mother, and I don't think you're suited to be a doctor either.
What do you mean?
because I wouldn't want to entrust my life to someone who judges people based on their titles like elite or middle school graduate. I want a doctor who treats everyone equally, no matter who they are. That's why I don't want you to become a doctor.
How was Brad?
He seemed really down. Looks like he finally realized how tough things are going to get from here on out.
I'm sorry. You've sacrificed so much for him up until now.
It's fine. I did it for the family. I have no regrets. I don't even regret the decision to separate from Brad because I have you now.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Now that we've saved the $20,000 for the entrance fee, how about we take a trip abroad soon?
Yeah, let's do that.
After Brad had his university entrance canceled, he decided to begin living on his own. The decision to live independently was a significant turning point in his life, one that marked the beginning of a new chapter, but also a difficult and overwhelming one. Until that point, Brad had always relied on the support of his parents, never truly understanding what it meant to live independently. The idea of moving out and taking care of everything on his own seemed like an exciting opportunity to grow and become more responsible, but the reality of the situation turned out to be much more challenging than he had anticipated. Initially, Brad felt a sense of freedom when he moved out. No more rules from his parents, no more restrictions on what he could or couldn't do. He felt like an adult who could finally take charge of his own life. However, as time went on, the challenges of living alone began to weigh on him. The first thing that hit him was the overwhelming responsibility of managing all his expenses. Living at home, he had never had to worry about rent, utility bills, or grocery shopping. Now he found himself facing these everyday tasks head-on. The pressure was overwhelming, and he quickly realized that he was not as prepared as he thought he was. Brad tried to manage his finances as best he could. To make ends meet, he got a part-time job. The job helped him cover some of the basics, such as food and transportation, but it was far from enough. Rent was a constant worry, and every month he had to scramble to figure out how to pay for it. The job was physically exhausting and took up a lot of time, leaving him little energy to focus on his studies. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't keep up with everything. At first, Brad thought he could handle the burden of living on his own. He believed that the part-time job would be enough to cover his costs, and he convinced himself that he could manage his schoolwork and household chores at the same time. But as the days turned into weeks, the reality of his situation began to sink in. The financial strain was beginning to take its toll. The rent and bills were stacking up, and despite his best efforts, he couldn't keep up with the expenses. Desperate to make ends meet, Brad took out a loan. The loan allowed him to pay his rent and buy some essentials, but it also brought him further into debt. The cycle of borrowing money to pay for basic living expenses continued. Every month, Brad would borrow more money, only to find himself even deeper in debt. This situation was not sustainable, and he knew it. However, he felt trapped. He had no other option but to keep borrowing and hope that things would eventually improve. Unfortunately, they did not. As the months went by, Brad's financial situation became increasingly dire. Unable to afford his rent, he moved into a cheaper apartment. The new apartment was far from ideal. It was small, cramped, and in poor condition. The plumbing was faulty, the heating barely worked, but it was all he could afford. Despite the lower rent, Brad's financial situation did not improve. In fact, it seemed to get worse. The bills kept piling up, and he struggled to keep up with the basic costs of living. The stress of trying to balance work, school, and household chores began to take a toll on Brad's mental health. He was exhausted from juggling so many responsibilities. His job was taking up more time than he had anticipated, leaving him a little time to study for his classes. His academic performance began to suffer, and he found himself falling behind. The dream of completing his degree seemed further and further out of reach. The situation worsened when Brad realized that he simply couldn't continue working and studying at the same time. The stress was too much to handle, and he had no energy left to focus on his studies. And the constant pressure to keep up with his job and his financial obligations was overwhelming. Eventually, Brad made the difficult decision to quit his part-time job. Without the job, he no longer had any source of income. The rent continued to be due, and his debts were mounting. He found himself trapped in a cycle of borrowing money, paying bills, and borrowing more money just to stay afloat. It seemed like there was no way out. Despite his best efforts, Brad's situation continued to deteriorate. Without a job, he had no way to pay for his rent or other expenses. His debt continued to grow, and he was living in constant fear of the debt collectors who would soon be coming after him. He had never experienced anything like this before. He had always relied on the support of his parents and never had to worry about money. But now he was facing the harsh reality of living alone, and it was a reality he was not prepared for. Brad's financial situation became increasingly desperate. He continued to borrow money just to cover the basics. The stress of living with constant debt began to take a serious toll on his health. He was unable to sleep, constantly worrying about how he was going to pay for the next bill. The once exciting idea of living independently had turned into a nightmare. Brad had never fully understood the responsibility that came with independence, and now he was learning the hard way. Meanwhile, on the other side, our lives were moving forward. After Brad's situation started to unravel, we decided to move into a new home together. It was a fresh start for us, a chance to build a new life without the stress and pressure that had weighed us down in the past. It was also the first time we would be living together as a couple, and it felt like a new beginning. We were both excited about the possibilities and the future that awaited us. Moving in together was not without its challenges. It was a big change, and there was a lot to adjust to. We had to figure out how to split the responsibilities, how to manage the household finances, and how to make the most of our new space. But despite the challenges, we felt like we were on the right path. For the first time in a long time, we felt in control of our lives. Living together was also a chance for us to focus on building a future. We no longer had to worry about the stress of living apart or dealing with the complications of our previous living situations. Our new home was a place where we could grow together and create a life full of possibilities. The future was bright, and we were excited to see where it would take us. In contrast, Brad was still struggling. I couldn't help but think about him often. He was stuck in a vicious cycle of debt and despair, and it seemed like there was no way out. The choices he had made had led him down this difficult path, and now he had to face the consequences. It was hard not to feel sorry for him, but at the same time, I knew that it wasn't our responsibility to fix his life. He had to take ownership of his situation and figure out how to move forward on his own. We had made the decision to leave the past behind and focus on our future. Brad, however, was still stuck in the past, struggling to break free from the consequences of his own actions. We had both made choices, and now we were dealing with the results of those choices. While I felt sympathy for Brad, I knew that I couldn't go back and change the decisions that had been made. We had to move forward, and I had to let him find his own way. As we settled into our new life, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we'd come. We had made it through the difficult times, and now we were building a life together. I was proud of the steps we had taken and felt confident that we were on the right track. Brad, on the other hand, had to find his own way. His journey was his own, and I knew that he would have to face the consequences of his actions just as we had faced the consequences of ours. Our lives were moving in different directions. We were building a future together while Brad was still trying to find his footing. It was difficult to watch, but at the same time, I knew that we had made the right decisions to focus on our own future. We had worked hard to get where we were, and we were determined to make the most of our new beginning. Brad, however, had to figure out how to rebuild his life from the ground up. It wasn't easy, but it was something he had to do on his own. As we continued to settle into our new home, I couldn't help but feel a sense of peace. We were starting fresh with no more worries about the past. Our future was in our hands, and we were ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. Brad, however, would have to find his own way. His future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. He would have to learn the hard way that independence came with responsibilities, and he would have to face those responsibilities head on. As time passed, we found ourselves growing closer. Our relationship deepened, and we began to make plans for the future. We discussed our hopes and dreams, and we made commitments to support each other through whatever challenges life would throw at us. We knew that life would not always be easy, but together we felt confident that we could face anything. Brad, on the other hand, was still struggling to find his footing. I could sense his pain and frustration, but I also knew that he needed to take responsibility for his actions. He couldn't continue blaming others for his problems. He had to learn to face his mistakes and take control of his life. Despite everything, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness for him. He was lost, and it seemed like no one could help him. But deep down, I knew that the only person who could help Brad was himself. He had to face the truth and take responsibility for the life he had created. Only then could he begin to rebuild and move forward. Natalie, why would you do that to me? I was so excited to meet my first grandson. Why did you kick me out of your hospital room? You cannot be serious. What made you think I was going to let you in? I would never, ever let my precious son meet my stepmother of all people. This is a family occasion, and you are decidedly not family, so get out of here. Not family? How can you say that? I have been married to your father for 20 years. You weren't even in grade school when your father and I got married. You might not be my biological daughter, but I've always treated you as though you were my own flesh and blood. Even after all that, you still don't see me as family? No, I don't. I have never seen you as family, and I never will. I've never even thought of you as being my mom. Seriously, you're disgusting. Like, who do you think you are? You go around pretending you're my mom? Did you give birth to me? No, you did not. So knock it off. Oh, and just so you know, I'm not the only one who doesn't see you as family. What's that supposed to mean? My dad doesn't think you're our family either. When I had you removed from the hospital, he didn't do anything to stop me, did he? My God, you really don't even realize that you're not wanted around here. How pathetic. I was rather perturbed that your dad didn't stand up for me. I thought that maybe he was just too busy holding your baby to do anything about it. Yeah, well, now you know exactly where you stand around here. My dad's feelings for you are long gone. There is no one in this family who considers you a part of it. To me, you're no different than any random stranger I walk by on the street. Why should I let some random stranger hold my baby? Get real. And what about your husband, John? Does he have anything to say about you treating me this way? You think I'm actually going to tell him about this? I don't need to. He knows I value my family, and that's all he needs to know. Anyway, don't you dare go around telling people you're my baby's grandmother, because you are not. Is this the thanks I get for supporting you all these years? Tell you what, I will thank you for one thing. The way you ran out of the room crying was absolutely hilarious. A good laugh was just what I needed after going through 4 hours of labor today. So thanks for that, Renee. Also, I think you might want to contact the people at the Guinness World Records. Tell them you've set the record for the ugliest cry in history. Now get out and stay out. If you come back to the hospital, I am calling the police.
Hey there, Renee. So, tell me, how are my granddaughter and grandson doing now? Did you take any photos for me? I really wish I could have gone down there myself today, but there was a problem at the office that I had to attend to.
I'm really sorry, Dad, but I wasn't able to see the baby today.
Uh-oh. What happened? You said you were going to the hospital today, right? Was there some sort of health issue with Natalie?
No, that's not it. Both the mother and child are perfectly healthy. Natalie simply refused to allow me to see the baby.
What?
It's hard to believe, but she also says that Nate feels the same way.
My goodness. I thought it might be difficult for Natalie to accept you as her mother, given the circumstances. But for Nate to take her side against you, that's unbelievable.
As much as I wish it weren't true, it unfortunately is. Natalie screamed at me to get out, and Nate just stood there holding the baby where I couldn't see him. Thinking back, I can swear he turned his head to smirk at me as I ran out the door.
What has gotten into that man?
Honestly, I can't say that this is all that much of a shock for me. He has been uncharacteristically cold to me lately.
Have you talked to him about that?
No, I was always the one who was the most interested in pursuing a relationship and then marriage with Nate. I guess I was so grateful that he married me that, well, maybe I shouldn't complain too much about that sort of thing.
It doesn't matter who pursued who. All that matters is the two of you are man and wife. I was there on the day you two made your vows to each other. It is Nate's sacred duty to support you as his wife. Perhaps that fool had forgotten about all the support I've given him for his business over the years. Renee, dear, I really wish you would have come to me about this sooner.
I just didn't want to trouble you with my marital problems.
And it's precisely because of that reluctance to talk to Nate or myself that things have got as bad as they have. Wait, no, I'm sorry, Renee. I shouldn't have said that. It's not your fault that this is happening. I should have been more active in asking you about how you are doing.
No, Dad, please don't blame yourself. There were times when I considered talking to you. It's just that you were so happy for me when me and Nate got married, I didn't want to disappoint you.
There is precious little that you could do to disappoint me, Renee. Now, we have a lot to talk about, and it's better that we do it in person. Come over to our place. I'll have your mother put on a pot of tea for us.
Thanks, Dad. I'm sorry for getting you involved in this. It's not your problem.
When my daughter is involved, it most assuredly is my problem.
What gives, Renee? You talked to Grandpa, didn't you? Thanks to you, all our hard work was for nothing. Do you have any idea how painful it was for us to have to act like we didn't loathe you in front of him? You are seriously the worst. Yeah, I always thought it was strange how you acted around my dad. You never talked to me so sweetly while we were alone or at home. But now I know exactly why that was. You were trying to hide your true intentions from him. Yeah, obviously. Is that a surprise to you? He was the one who was paying the bill for the baby's birth. And it's not just that. He's given me tons of money over the years. What choice did I have? I had to do everything I could to make sure I stayed in his good graces. You know, you could have simply accepted me as a member of your family. That seems like a much easier path than acting for 20 years. How dense are you, anyway? I will not accept you as a member of my family because you are not a member of my family. We're not related by blood. The only thing tying you to me is some piece of paper with both of your names written on it. I told you, Natalie, I always thought of you as my daughter. You have no right to call yourself my mother. I am not your daughter, so stop calling me that. I mean, you were the one who pushed my dad into marrying you. You were crazy about him. I guess I can understand why he married you back then, because you were young and not too awful looking. But now what good are you to him? You're just old. And neither my dad nor I have any reason to pretend to be nice to you anymore. How about all the times I packed you lunch for school? When I picked you up from volleyball practice? What about all the times you were sick and I spent the entire night at your bedside comforting you? That is literally the bare minimum amount of work required of you. You want me to be grateful for that? It would be like being grateful for you breathing. You've served your purpose and now we're done with you. Never talk to me or my dad again. We have better things to do with our time than talk to some old woman who's not even our family. All right, Natalie. If that's what you want, so be it. You'll never hear from me again. Yes, finally. Hurry up and move out of my dad's house. I don't want my dad to have to put up with you for one more second. He's already put up with enough already. Fine, I'll start packing immediately. Oh, and by the way, Natalie, don't come crying when things start going very, very badly for you. What do I have to cry about? I'm getting rid of the cancer that's been eating away at my family for 20 years. Goodbye, Renee, and good riddance. We need to talk, Renee. Why has no one given me a gift yet? My baby was born a month ago now, and I've gotten absolutely nothing. You? I thought you didn't want to speak to me anymore. Why would you message me after all this time? That's not the point. Answer my question. Where are all my gifts? I had a baby. That means I get a bunch of presents. You know, baby clothes, cribs, diapers, lots and lots of money. But not one person has come. No one came by while I was in the hospital, and even after I went home, nobody has stopped by. No one's even texted me to say congratulations. I tried to call a few people to see when they were coming over, but they all hung up on me immediately. Wow, that's a shame. What's with that reaction? No way. You're behind this, aren't you? I can't believe that you would do this to me. This is your grandson we're talking about. How could you be so cruel to him? Oh, what's that? A month ago, you firmly demanded that I not go around telling people I was his grandmother. What happened to that, Natalie? Did you forget? You also said I wasn't your family, and if I'm not your family, then my family isn't your family either. You're the only one I said that to. I didn't say anything about Grandpa or anyone else. You lied to them about me. That is defamation. I could sue you. Get on the phone and call everyone you lied to right now. Tell them the truth. And when you're done doing that, go around to all their houses, collect their gifts for me, and bring them to my house. And why, pray tell, would I go out of my way to do that for you? If you want to correct the record, then you can call them all yourself. Were you not paying attention? I tried to call them, but they all hung up on me. They owe me gifts for my baby, and you are going to be the one to pick them up for me. Nobody owes you anything, Natalie, especially not family members that you've disowned. It's pretty presumptive of you to demand gifts from people. Aren't you embarrassed to be reduced to begging? It's not like I want to be in this position, but before the baby was born, all your relatives said they were going to give me nice gifts. Some even said they were going to give me a couple grand in cash. I thought I was going to get a bunch of free baby stuff and money, so I did a little bit of shopping for stuff for myself. But now a month has gone by and still no gifts. I am in big trouble because of you. No, you're in big trouble because you were counting your chickens before they hatched. You were counting on other people to give you money that you hadn't received yet and spent more than you could afford to. It's as simple as that. But I was spending my own money and it's basically all gone now. I have next to nothing left to buy clothes and stuff. At this rate, your grandson is going to have to walk around naked for the rest of his life. Is that what you want to have happen? That's a pretty gross exaggeration of the situation, I'd say. Besides, I'm not a part of your family, and I never was. That means I have absolutely no responsibility to lift a single finger to help you. Instead of me, why not have a talk with your husband about this? Seems like he'd be better equipped to respond to this problem than me. Because if I tell him, then he's going to find out what I did. Are you stupid or something? Whatever, I am done with you. I should have known better than to think I could rely on you. But I know for sure that Grandpa is going to take my side. He's going to be super mad at you when I tell him. Grandpa, please, you've got to help me. Renee is under a huge misunderstanding, and thanks to that, we're in big trouble. I'm going to have a lot of big bills coming up at the end of this month, and there is no way we're going to be able to pay it. And it's not just me that's in trouble. My dad is too. I hate to ask you for this since you've already done so much for us, but could you please give us some money to get through this month? Your great-grandson really needs your help right now.
A misunderstanding, you say? It seems like the situation is pretty straightforward to me. You and your father both told Renee that you don't consider her to be a part of your family, and that you never wanted to see her again. You did say that, didn't you?
Come on, are you really gonna take her side, Grandpa? I bet it's because you don't think I'm your real granddaughter. I'm just your step-granddaughter. You never really loved me, did you?
You're a grown woman, Natalie. Stop acting like a child. You can't just blame all your problems on other people. Think about it. Can you honestly say that you have no responsibility for what's happening to you?
Of course I can. I didn't do anything wrong.
You told her she's not family because there's no blood between you, correct? Well, I suppose I should tell you that there's no blood between me and Renee either.
Wait, what? You mean Renee isn't your daughter?
No, she is every bit my daughter, and I'll not stand for any talk otherwise. Renee is my wife's daughter. We got married when she was only 7 years old.
She wasn't particularly comfortable around me at first, and we had some difficulties adjusting to our new life together. But we both made strides towards becoming a family. That's why I don't like to say that I love Renee like my real daughter. Renee is my real daughter, and I love her with all my heart. Just like I loved you with all my heart.
Wow, I had no idea. I mean, Grandma died before my dad and Renee even met, so I guess I wouldn't have had the chance to know. But why didn't you ever tell me?
We didn't feel it was worth discussing. Given the circumstances of her upbringing, I was a bit surprised when she said she wanted to marry a man with a daughter of his own. I had my doubts, but she was firm. She said she wanted to become a family with the man she loved as well as his daughter. She even said she wanted to be as good of a parent to you as I was to her. You have no idea how happy I was to hear that. And for all I knew, things were going great between you. But now I know that this was all an act. You and your father deceived me. You're liars, both of you.
Hey, that's not fair. We didn't lie to you.
When you pretended that you got along great in my presence only to treat Renee like an outsider once you got home, yes, that is most certainly a lie. And now you've gone so far as to say that she isn't your family. Well, two can play at that game. If she's not your family, then I'm not either. I'm immediately pulling my support from your father's company, and I won't be giving you another dime either.
What? Wait, you're not going to give my dad money for his company anymore? But his company is still in the middle of restructuring. You can't pull your support now.
His company has been restructuring for over 10 years. If it's not restructured yet, it's never going to be.
If my dad's company goes bankrupt, it's your fault.
Don't patronize me, little girl. You really think I don't know what your father has been doing? I've been in the business long enough to know that it should not take 10 years to restructure a company of that size. So I had his company's financing looked into, and I found out where all the money I've been giving him has been going to. Straight into his own wallet.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's no point in denying it anymore, Natalie. I've already known everything. I've already paid your hospital bill for the birth, but if you're going to tell my daughter that she's not your family, then that's the last thing you'll ever get out of me.
Wait, this is way too sudden. If you cut off your support for us right now, we'll be ruined.
That isn't my problem. You've already had plenty of fun with my money yourself, haven't you? Yes, I know about that too.
How?
That story isn't for me to tell. Give your father this message from me. My preliminary investigation is complete, and the full investigation will start soon. I will calculate exactly how much money you took from me, down to the last cent. And you are going to pay it all back.
No, we don't have it anymore.
If you won't pay up, then I'll see you in court.
You're gonna sue us? Grandpa, don't do this.
Grandpa? What are you talking about? There's no blood between us. That makes us not a family, according to you.
This is all your fault, Renee. I hope you're happy with yourself. Grandpa told me that he's not going to give me any more money. And do you know why that is? It's because you just had to go and open your big fat mouth about what I said to you. You ruined my life. Everything was going just fine for all of us up until now.
When you say all of us, who are you referring to? Are you including me in that?
Obviously not. You're not one of us.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The truth is that things were only going well for you at my expense. I had to put up with both you and your father disrespecting me while you reaped the rewards to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars of my father's money. All I ever wanted was for you to respect my feelings toward you, but you couldn't even do that. So after you disrespected me like that, I don't want to hear any complaints from you over the consequences. But you're not my family. Why doesn't anyone else understand that? All you are is some woman who barged into my house when I was a kid. You think you can just force yourself on me, make me recognize you as my mom? You're not my mom. Didn't my dad talk to you about this? How can you still be so wrong about what a family is? I did my very best not to impose myself on you. All I ever wanted was to have a family. The truth is, your dad and I tried to have a child of our own for a while after we were married. Unfortunately, we were never successful. It turns out your dad has some fertility issues. The doctor said that there was treatment available, but it would be costly and time-consuming. We talked it over, and your dad was worried that if I had a baby, it might cause you an undue amount of emotional distress. So we decided to forego getting the treatment and continue our lives with just the three of us. My dad was the one who told, you know. I bet you hated him for that. That's why you told on me to your dad. You're wrong, Natalie. I accepted his decision because I loved him and I loved you. The two of you were all I needed to be happy. And so I gave you every bit of love that I would have given our baby. I don't believe you for 1 second. You're just saying this to make me feel guilty. And I know you were trying to force me into loving you, but it was never going to work. Why do you think that, Natalie? I never thought about forcing you to love me. I merely hoped that if I gave you all my love and affection, that one day you would come to love me back willingly. I just wanted to be your family. I was so happy for you on the day of your wedding. And when your son was born, I was in tears going to the hospital, imagining the feeling of holding my own grandchild in my arms. But you wouldn't even let me do that. You returned all my love, care, and attention with scorn. You treated me horribly, Natalie. My father and I both had to work in order to close the gap between us, but between you, your dad, and I, the only person trying to close that gap was me. I can see that any more of my effort on you would be wasted, so I am throwing in the towel. And one more thing. I told John about what you did. You what? You actually told him? No way. Why would you do that? Don't misunderstand me. It's not that I went out of my way to tattle on you. Then why did you tell him? Your husband isn't an idiot, Natalie. He noticed how no one from my side of the family was visiting you or even sending their congratulations. He thought it was strange, so he came to ask me what was going on. He asked me if this had to do with something that you did, so I told him the truth. Oh my God, this is terrible! But I guess that does explain why John's been in such a sour mood lately. I thought maybe he was just jealous because I was giving the baby all of my attention and not spending any time with him. John also isn't as much of a child as you. He was a bit surprised to hear about the way you were treating me. But somehow he seemed like he really saw this coming all along. Which brings me to something you talked about with my dad the other day. He told you that he knew what you had been doing with the money he was giving you, right? I have no idea what he was talking about. Good grief, Natalie, you really don't know when to give up. There is nothing for you to gain by denying it at this point. But since you and I both know the truth, let's just get on with it. You gambled it all away. You lost every last cent my dad gave you at the casino, the racetrack, online sports betting, you name it. Oh, but once you ran out of his money, you stopped gambling, right? No, then you started dipping into John's savings. Surely, however, losing all of your husband's money taught you a lesson, didn't it? No, after you ran through all his money, then you started taking out loans in both your name and his. How did you find that out? John told me. He said he'd been leaving the family finances to you, but got suspicious when he saw that his savings were diminishing every month. He asked you what was going on, and you blamed it on inflation. So he got a credit report for himself, and that's when he saw that you had taken loans out in his name. That poor man. I wouldn't be surprised if you two were divorced before me and your dad.
No, that cannot happen. I just gave birth to our son, and I quit my job right before the birth. He can't divorce me. What am I supposed to do without him?
Well, that baby is going to need you to step up, so you had better figure something out.
I have no idea what to do, though. That's why I'm asking you.
I would suggest you look into getting a very good bankruptcy attorney. You can go in on hiring one with your dad, since he has a lot of debts he can't pay back either.
Renee, I am begging you. You've got to help me.
You are past the point of no return, Natalie. There's nothing I can do to help you now.
Can you at least get Grandpa to forgive the money Dad owes him? Me and my dad will go over to his house to apologize and everything.
You really don't get how mad he is, do you? Oh, Natalie, we could have been a family.
We still can.
No, Natalie, it's over between us. My only wish is that I could get back all the time I wasted on you and your dad.
Please, Renee, don't say that. You don't mean it. We had a lot of good times together, didn't we? You said it yourself. You always loved me like your own daughter, right? If you really meant that, then there's still a chance. Please, Renee, please come home. Please forgive me. We can start over again, and this time I promise it'll be different. We'll be a real family.
You're about to learn this the hard way, but this world isn't that convenient of a place. Family isn't just something that you can put away until it's convenient. You made your position clear. Your only family is you, your dad, and your baby now.
Uh-oh, I just got a text from John. Oh no, he says he wants to divorce me. Oh, this is terrible. Now my poor son is crying. He knows his daddy is abandoning him. Don't you feel sorry for this poor, innocent child?
Oh, please. Did you think that act was going to work on me? I've been around long enough to know that desperate people will tell ridiculous Hail Mary lies when they've used up all their other options. I'm surprised, though. You were a much better actress when you were pretending to be nice to me in front of my dad.
But I'm not going to be able to pay my bills this month. What do I do, Renee? Tell me.
Well, there is one thing you could try. If things get bad enough for you, you could always try to beat my record for the ugliest cry in history. All right, that's that. The divorce was just finalized. Thanks for all your help, Dad.
Don't mention it, sweetheart. You know I'd do anything to protect my daughter's happiness. You've been through so much because of these two. I wish I had known back then what I do now. I should have been more vocal in my opposition to you marrying him.
Dad, you can't blame yourself for not knowing things that not even I knew about. It's entirely my fault for thinking I could build a happy family together with them. I guess I just have a terrible sense of men. But really, the most painful part of it all for me is the fact that I was never able to get Natalie to open up her heart to me. Maybe I'm not meant to be a parent after all.
That's not true at all. You did the absolute best that you could have. I may not have seen how the three of you got along when you were at home, but I watched how you acted around Natalie while you were here. What I saw was a woman who truly, dearly cared about her daughter. I should have told you this before, but you actually reminded me a lot of your mother.
Oh, Dad, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you so much. It means a lot to hear you say that. I meant what I told you before, Dad. I wanted to become a parent just like you, who gives her all for her stepdaughter.
And if your particular stepdaughter in this case weren't an absolute menace, I have no doubt that you have succeeded. It was a bad match, that's all. Your life isn't over yet, you know. I'm sure that one day you'll soon find a man who actually deserves to be married to a fine woman like yourself.
You think so?
I know so.
Well, if you say so, then I guess I can't give up hope just yet. I will have to get a better taste in men, though. Thank you so much, Dad. Not just for what you've done recently, but for everything. Thank you for loving me like I was your own.
Renee, how many times do I have to tell you? You are my own.
After John divorced Natalie, she moved back in with Nate. From the moment she moved back in, however, they started arguing over who was most to blame for their situation. Those fights happened basically every night and went well beyond midnight some days. Without my dad's support, Nate's company went bankrupt. With both of them out of work and up to their eyeballs in debt, they had a very hard time making ends meet. As for me, after my divorce from Nate, I moved back in with my dad. It's been a long time since we've lived together, but it still feels like old times when my mom and I were living with him in this very house. I hadn't worked very much since marrying Nate, but my dad was kind enough to get me a good job at a company run by one of his friends. My very first day on the job, I was approached by one of the men there, and he asked me out to lunch. I haven't been on a date in over 20 years, so I'm kind of freaking out. What should I wear?